Welcome, 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 heroes, to the Outlaws Outpost, your unofficial guide to the best Overwatch League team. Brought to you by the Good Night and Good Game podcast and the Houston Outlaws official supporters group, the Lone Star Vanguard. I'm your host, James, and with me today from the Lone Star Vanguard is Joe, aka Nubatron,
Howdy.
Jordan, aka Creerex,
Hi there.
and today we're joined by a very special guest, Eleanor, the brand marketing lead for Overwatch and Call of Duty leagues. Eleanor, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So, Eleanor, before we get to the fun, let's talk about your job a little bit. Specifically, I need to know, what is a brand manager and what do they do?
Yeah, it's a great lead off question, and an important one, because I think different industries talk about brand management in different ways. So, like if you go to a consumer products company, a brand manager actually owns an entire brand. So say like a Dove within a Unilever, and they are kind of the leads on that particular brand and own that part of the portfolio. In entertainment, a brand manager sits within the marketing group typically, as I do, and is responsible for really two things. One is the kind of the growth and development of a brand. So understanding audience trends and understanding the direction and vision for a brand and kind of bringing that to life. And then the second is in maintenance and kind of making sure that messaging and creative and all the forms of communication for a brand are consistent across consumer touch points. So that's social, broadcast, events, and all of the kind of marketing levers at one's disposal. So that's what it is that I do. It's what it is that my team does, and something that I've done for a good long time now.
So you were a former brand manager for the NFL, though. So as somebody who's currently the head of brand marketing for Activision Blizzard Esports, I'm curious, like, what similarities do you find between quote traditional sports and esports?
So it's actually something that I think about a fair amount, and not surprising to anyone, but they're quite different in terms of the brand, the brands themselves, what it is that they hope to accomplish, where it is that they are in terms of their growth. But like anything, the thing that I think is common between them and what I gravitate towards as a professional and someone who enjoys what it is that they do, is the passion of fans. So the passion that an NFL fan has for their team, for players, for the league, generally speaking, and the same thing is really shared across NFL fans and Overwatch League and Call of Duty League fans, is that connection to what it is that the entertainment provides. So that is really what I find to be the most valuable part of my job, is encouraging, fostering, and growing that fandom and that passion.
It's great that you kind of mentioned that, because growing up, I grew up in a household where sports was on a lot. But I was never a huge sports guy growing up, unless it was hockey. And because I lived in Texas, I didn't get to see hockey until I would go visit my family in Michigan during the summer. So I never got it right when it came to being a fan of a sport. And then the Overwatch League happened. We heard, hey, there's an event going on where people are going to meet up and check out this Overwatch team, the Houston Outlaws, thus the formation of the Vanguard. But there was a point in which I was several appearances into getting to meet all these people that would eventually become our Vanguard family, when this light bulb went off in my head, and I went like, I get it. I get why Dad was so excited on Sundays watching the Oilers play, or like it all clicked and made sense, because I then had that same passion, wanting to come back week after week and watch what was going on. And it was a really cool way to connect with my family as well, being like, you may not understand the thing that I love,
Yeah.
but understand that it's so similar in that same sense, especially, and we've talked about this so much on the show, that one of the best things that the Overwatch League did was brand their teams to cities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that was my biggest thing is heck yeah, finally we get that, especially when you said Dallas was gonna have a team, Houston was gonna have a team. It was just like, oh, like happy day, happy day. You know, just having that rivalry that each team can, you know, root for, and just, you know, two like household names, right? You think, I mean, it's been awesome, and I've a big fan of it. You know, I'm a huge Longhorn football fan. I have my flag over there. You can see it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Is
so
it the Green Bay one next to it?
I also have the Green Bay flag over there. We'll get into
Wow.
that later.
Been
We'll get
wait-
into that later.
been waiting to show that one off.
But yeah, you know, I think you think, you know, Outlaws versus Fuel. It's like, okay, wow. I mean, that's, you know, Longhorns versus A&M, right, or Oklahoma.
Dig 'em.
Think about it in terms of the entire Overwatch league. I mean, not even LA for the past few years has had their inner city rivalry pushed the way
Right.
that Dallas and the Outlaws have. It's the thing of legends at this point. So much that like the advertising around certain weekends is like, you know, Battle for Texas is about to happen and everybody gets excited.
Yes, yes. And I think that that Texans fans, and I think Dallas and Houston, you do a great job at really bringing through that rivalry and making it feel real. And I think that I don't know what it is about Texas. You love your team.
I mean, think
Cool.
about, I mean, when we talk about the Vanguard, we started as 3 different splinter groups in 3 different cities, Austin,
Yeah.
San Antonio, and Houston. And at some point we all said, hey, wait a minute, why are we not doing this together? Like like literally Overwatch League brought 3 cities together and created what we have now. And that's, that warms my heart a little bit.
It is.
I think-
it's really special.
I think Noob is in the same boat with me, where we were both grew up as as Green Bay Packer fans, and we never liked Dallas because of Green Bay, not
Yep.
because of any of the Texas related teams. It was always Dallas versus Green Bay, and I learned to not like Dallas because of my family's
Yeah, it's
history
just
with
it's
Green
that
Bay.
it's that built-in rivalry, right?
But it translates.
Yeah.
So I just have to, because I know there's gonna be a lot of people on there saying, how are you from Texas and you don't like the Cowboys or the Oilers? I did like the Oilers back then, a little bit, right? I was kind of a little young for that, but my godfather was from Sheboygan, so anytime that my family, my traditional, my parents, they would watch football, they would watch soccer, and my godparents would watch the Packers, right?
Mhm.
So that's how I kind of went down that path of like, I only saw the Packers, and no, Des didn't catch it.
I can see that though. I mean, like even my family from Michigan, they love the Lions, but it's a rough go for the Lions for the most part. So
Yeah.
Well, my family's from Wisconsin, so I mean, there
there it is.
There it is.
And that really is the beauty of it, right? Like you love to be able to pass down that fandom, and I think the idea is, you know, one day that, you know, these, you know, you'll be able to, you know, have a family and you know, be able to pass that fandom around to your family and friends who are, you know, co-located too, and they can feel that city pride while rooting for their favorite Overwatch.
I mean, the generational element's so important, right? I mean, when we look at traditional sports, you know, again, my family's from Michigan. Red Wings are a big thing in my family. You know, when I went as an adult to like the first Red Wings game I could go to on my own, my uncle gave me one of his jerseys for the Red Wings, said, here, like, go ahead and wear this. And it was like a retired player's jersey. He's like, yeah, this is actually like worth something, but I want you to have it because you're carrying on the tradition of, you know, putting on the jersey and going to a game and seeing it live. And it meant a lot to me. And I would like to think that esports in some capacity could live up to that kind of thing, where we could have these great, you know, intergenerational, I mean, there's so many people that even in the Vanguard's Discord, they love Overwatch League. They've gotten their kids into Overwatch League, and they want to, they take them to live events. They want to do all the things with their kids, and their kids are super into it.
That's phenomenal. Yeah, that's the goal. That's the vision. So I love to hear it.
Absolutely.
If nothing else. But yeah, I think it's one thing that I think, you know, carries over quite well from my experience.
Traditional, Yeah.
Mhm. So speaking of, I'm kind of curious here, what was the transition like though? Because you were moving from the NFL
Mhm.
and going into projects like the Overwatch and Call of Duty League. I mean, it's obviously a very different like demographic, but I imagine like a lot of the things behind the scenes are very similar, right?
Yes. I mean, well, I'll say that my role at the NFL was a bit narrower. So essentially, what it is that I do now spans across many people at the NFL. Not surprising to probably hear that Activision Blizzard Esports is not the size of the NFL
Obviously.
operation.
Yeah.
What, really?
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't know.
We do a lot with very little though. It's pretty cool to see. But I think really the biggest difference, aside from the change in scope and me kind of working and my team working across more consumer touch points and really being a part of campaign planning and bringing some of these ideas to life in a much more executional way. Than I was at the NFL. It's a little bit more distant from that stuff. But the relationship with game developers and game studios. So not surprising to know that we don't have a conversation with the football. The game doesn't change.
Yep.
1 year to the next, there aren't changing metas. There are no different positions cropping up.
Mhm.
The biggest difference really lies in the relationship between the game and the competitive game. So
Right.
that to me was the biggest way that I felt I could grow was in working with the studios, the franchises, and how it is that we could work together on bringing this competitive product to life. But just can't be replicated in traditional sports. It doesn't exist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You know, Jake, if you don't mind, I remember Jake very specifically had an interview when they asked him about kind of comparing traditional sports or football to Overwatch, and he had a really and I wish I could find the quote. I wish I had it in the back of my head, but I remember he mentioning, well, at least for football, the field doesn't change.
Yeah.
It's the same field over and over again,
Mhm.
but in Overwatch, it doesn't. The field changes every time you start a game.
Mhm.
Yeah. And we're
Well, I
out
mean-
here banning heroes and making it harder.
Changing
And
the map pools. I mean, there's different game types. It's a different game every time you watch it.
Mhm.
yeah.
Unless,
And I started to say the nature of esports is in shifting and changing and growing and balancing and trying new things. So just like wholly a more dynamic place to be. No knock on traditional sports because there's
Mhm.
something about consistency and routine that's very comforting and very nice. But it is a different experience.
I could see that.
Absolutely.
So you've been a brand manager in various capacities for Activision Blizzard for about a little over 2 years now, which means you've had to handle your position and your teams and everything in the middle of COVID. That's got to be tough. And I need to know, what was that experience like for you?
Challenging to say the least. When I started at the Overwatch League, it was all preparation for going to a live event model, to going home. Our whole campaign was about bringing the battle home. And overnight, that changed last year, and I like get emotional talking about it, but the strength and the ingenuity and the agility of our production, our broadcast production, of our IT operations, of our events team in shifting away from that model into something that is wholly online, it's nothing short of amazing. I don't know if you've had the privilege of talking to or meeting any of the people who work on the production side, but they're truly some of the most remarkable people I've had the pleasure of working with, because it's an extraordinary feat. We went from fully on site operation to people having full setups, and full sets of equipment in their home and putting on a live show within 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Yeah, that was.
I mean,
Yeah.
to kind of bring the point around. So outside of all of the things that I like to do for the Vanguard, in a professional capacity, I'm an IT manager for a data center. And what you're explaining happening is exactly what happened to us, right? We worked in these very busy data centers, and then overnight I had to prepare equipment, ship equipment all over the world, between several states, and get everybody up and going in as short time as possible. And I think that it's in this world, it's so easy to be so negative online. And I remember seeing when the first Overwatch League, during COVID, episodes were happening, and there were a lot of people like picking on the production of it. And one of the first thoughts in my head was, you don't know how hard this is. Like, somebody like me was behind the scenes trying to manage 500 people and get them to a functional state. And it was frustrating to me as an IT person, because I was like, they are doing so dang good with what they have. Like, and it's only been getting better and better as we've been going through this. And like, my hat's off to every single one of them in production, because that was not easy.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I imagine most of the issues that you might have run into might have been issues beyond their control. Maybe they had slow internet, maybe somebody, was calling their mom on dial up and it had to like slow it all down.
Spectrum.
Probably wasn't the case, but I mean, there's technology outside of the technology that we put forth. I mean, I know I've had my fair share of, working issues when we switched to the on at home model, where it's just like, I can't connect to my computer at work, or I can't, get this program to run like it does on my home work computer. It's just stuff like that. And if
Sorry,
you
I'm
don't,
not running an Alienware with like the highest graphics card.
Yeah.
If you don't bring your work stuff with you to home, and you're using your own personal setup, then things change, and there's all sorts of stuff that you have to overcome. And I mean, I was amazed that you were able to do as much as you were able to do, even if there was some sort of mess ups here and there. I mean, I can't count the number of times somebody's headset disconnected mid broadcast, and somebody was like, "Oh, gotta shoulder this cast the entire way through."
Yeah.
Hey, and look,
broadcasters.
yeah, and as someone who I had never done, I'm new to this broadcasting stuff with like the podcasts and doing pugs live and stuff like that for the LSV. I mean, heck, y'all, it's tough. I mean, I'm one person doing a very basic thing, and I forget to hit the record button. I've done that multiple times. We've had to reel back pre-recorded interview with Lorenzo was one of them, where we had 10 minutes into the interview. I looked down and the red button's not on. And we're like, okay, guys, we have to run all of that back. So
the button's on
honestly,
now,
like,
though, right?
I can't even fathom what,
Fortunately, it's always better the second time. And that's why I have such kind of love and respect when those technical issues pop up. Honestly, I absolutely adored just a couple weeks ago in the Overwatch League where they're like, oh, we need to fill some dead air. So let's talk about history.
Yeah.
I was like, this is so good. Like, thank you.
Sideshow. I mean, also the Savant. Like, that's so amazing.
Is there anything like personally that like was really tough for you when you made the transition into all of this? I mean, obviously getting everybody set up and up to speed would be so important, but like as a brand manager, that changes everything about your job at that point, right? Because you aren't doing these in-person events.
It meant a whole repositioning of the season. And because I said, we had invested a lot in this in our campaign, our positioning for the season. What is it that we can do to make this season special? And I think the answer was sort of right in front of us. Was like, we're putting on this amazing remote show. The proof that we have that we can be this nimble, agile group, and what a powerful thing that is for an esports league to be able to move from fully live to fully online, and the show the show went on. I mean,
Mhm.
no no other no other sports property can say that they're able to pivot that way. So I think, for us it was, I think we put out a couple of pieces of content about our production going online, and what that all took, and what the observers go through, and what the production teams look like behind the scenes. So really shining a spotlight on, the heroes behind the scenes, who are able to get the show to go on, was really important. And then when we came around to some of our biggest moments, like grand finals last year, it was, what can we do, to make sure that, first of all, we have a more seamless event, and that was why being on LAN in Korea was so important. But really getting, some, like, we had, fans' faces on camera. We had a lot more of the kind of the digital. Yes, exactly. I remember reaching out to you. So making sure that it felt like a digitally engaging experience, and leveling up from what we had done throughout the season. So it was all about being creative, and problem solving. It's kind of how we pivoted.
And for what it's worth, and this is completely off script, I have obviously a lot of friends that do watch the Overwatch League, and a lot of them have come back saying, like, actually the region split, like, did the broadcast region split has been wonderful for them. They've been like, I feel like I don't have to sit down and watch 8 hours of Overwatch League. I can kind of pick it up in a couple hour increments, watch all the teams, do it at my convenience. And yeah, I agree with them. It's been very cozy and been very nice to be able to watch that way.
I was gonna say, I also like that they've introduced the new ping system, where now you can do, the tournaments. Oh my god, I couldn't think of what it was. The tournaments where you have the Asian region up against the North American regions, and that was really fun. Plus, a couple teams get to go fly out to Hawaii,
And the strategies are so vastly different between the regions, and I love that. I love being able to catch up and being like, I wonder how they'll compete against each other, like when they actually do go head to head, because the meta is so very different in based on where you are.
I think we've discussed on the podcast, we think that North America is probably a little stronger this time around, but I think last year it was the Asian region that was
Absolutely.
much more
APAC was very, very
stronger.
strong.
Oh, hello, kitty.
You all need to get a dog. Have you seen my dog come across the screen? No, he's chilling over there.
Look.
There was like that with me. I'm seeing like the cat move and then cat move.
Yeah, no, it's like my cat calls Bindy's cat.
Okay, so as somebody who works on a fact-based nerd news show on the side, I know firsthand the importance of making sure that the general public has access to factual information when they are researching topics online. Now, the last few years have been rough, and in a time where it's not always easy for people to get accurate information, how can you defend the claim that, quote, chili dogs are shit?
Okay, yeah. Really want to know this one too.
So, first of all, to chili dog stands out there, I apologize. I did not mean to offend.
This is Eleanor's apology tour.
Apology tour. I have some hot takes. I think it's important to get the context out there. I was at a baseball game. I'm from DC, so I was actually at a Nationals game with my dad.
Very nice.
And I think it was during the summer that I tweeted that. And what the thing is that it's my fault. I got a chili dog in the summer heat of Washington, DC. So it's not the chili dog's fault. It was me, and I was taking it out on the chili dog. So that's 100% my bad. But so I can't say that chili dogs are shit conclusively.
Have you had a good chili dog since then?
I'll say I haven't recovered from that experience.
Okay. If you're ever in Chicago, Portillo's is a good place you can go get some good chili dogs.
I just like
I'll
making
note it.
my own.
All right. So now that we've had your apology tour for the chili dogs, I can respect that. I am a chili dog fan, mostly, but I'm weird because I think that I care less about the hot dog than the chili. So it's like the hot dog is more a vessel for the chili for me,
Mhm.
but
I get that.
that's where I fall on it. But you're also a self-proclaimed lover of Roman history. So I'm just really curious here. What do you feel Rome's greatest contribution to modern society is?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you can name one.
Yeah. I was just thinking that too. I was like, how do you narrow this one down?
I mean, if it's law, language, infrastructure, if it's philosophy, democracy, like all of those things probably weigh equally to me. I think, you know, and I think like I love history and I love historical podcasts and I'm super, super weird. But it's not weird. I shouldn't be
It's not weird.
I weirdly like purely on my downtime, a lot of my reading and audiobooks is like the history of video games. And I deep dive purely just into the history of it all. And it's so fascinating to me. So like I get it, like history itself is fascinating, but like now we're in this era where like video games are actually getting history books published about them. I'm like, yes, put that in my face, please. I love it.
I would like to recommend Hardcore History by Dan Carlin.
I listened to that to like go to sleep. I mean, that is what I was saying. So
Yeah.
I love Dan Carlin.
Huge fan of that podcast. My older brother actually introduced it to me. I'm from South Texas, deep South Texas, so our drives back home are about 5.5 hours. And so every time we get together in the car, it's like, okay, which one are we listening to today? We listen to Hardcore History all the way home.
His like his voice intonation is so captivating. I think The King of Kings is one of my favorites about the Persian Empire.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, and not a total aside, because one of the things that I think is important to learn as a reminder about Roman history is kind of the impermanence of empire, and you know the rise and fall, and to learn about those about history and to understand that you know we're in Pax Americana or Pax, you know, wherever we are in history, that the status quo will not remain the same. Change is inevitable, and it's only a matter of time. So that to me is like maybe the biggest learning, maybe not to modern history, but just as a.
I don't know, coming through the light at the end of the tunnel right now in the middle of 2021, it feels like we weren't going to have some great history for a while. So it's like, here we are. At least things are getting better.
Yes. I would love to hear some recommendations about video game history books.
Yeah,
though.
I have an entire list. I'll literally just pull up my Audible at some point and just shoot you some. I'm really curious though. I know that you said you love Roman history. Is there another era of history that fascinates you that really like you gravitate towards?
Yeah, so I in college I was a political science or international affairs major. So I spent a lot of time on Western, Western civilization. So, and then I think really what I've always kind of gravitated towards is World War II and the Great Wars. Unfortunately, Great Wars. So I've read a lot from that time period. But one of the things that I think I've wanted to do in whatever free time I have is learn more about some of the Chinese empires and India and Mesoamerica. Really goes untaught in our education system.
It does, absolutely.
So I think seek it out is kind of what I have ventured to do. And Dan Carlin was actually the first to really kind of whet my interest in really kind of Middle East history and antiquities. So that's something that I think I want to spend more time understanding and learning about. Yeah, just not something that that was really a part of my education, unfortunately.
So I will say, I was a history major, right? That also mattered in kinesiology, and it's especially listening to like someone like Dan Carlin, right, who does such a great job of just explaining how the smallest thing throughout history can just alter the course of everything.
Yes.
And it is so. If you guys have not listened to Hardcore History, please pick it up. It will just kind of really change your view on everything and how important history is.
If you make your way down to Texas, we have a lot of great historical cities here. And this is something that I recently did, which is why I want to talk about it. We have a town here in Texas called Fredericksburg, very, very small town. But it's got nothing but historical districts to it. And one of the things that you can do there, and there's multiple of them, is there are museums dedicated to World War II, but not the traditional World War II that we're taught about. It's specifically everything about the Pacific stuff.
Mhm.
And so you get to learn just everything and how the war in the Pacific was handled and all of that. It's a very, very fascinating tour to go on.
That's super cool. Yeah, the Pacific concert I think is really fascinating. Actually, I think the aside from like the History Channel programming around it, the Pacific um, series on HBO is really
So
my
good.
that was really my first entry point into that.
Mhm.
But I have since read a couple of books and about the Pacific concert. There's so much there. And actually, my grandfather fought in the Pacific during
Oh,
the
wow.
Second War. Um,
My godfather,
um,
who I mentioned earlier, he was in the Pacific Theater as well. He was a radio operator, and so I have a lot of stories about that. But yeah, I had that connection there.
I love that.
I love it. Now that you've had your history lessons, everyone,
Ah,
back to Overwatch very
Yeah, I thought this was an
briefly.
esports show. What's going on?
So over the last year, we've been seeing a lot more content that's being pushed by the Overwatch League that's fan created, from showing off cosplay to art during the games. What are some of your things, your favorite things about being able to interact with the fans of the Overwatch League?
Things like this. I mean, very plainly, it's the Overwatch League community is just so special. I think unlike any other community, not that like there aren't pockets of NBA fans, MLB fans, or Call of Duty fans that kind of express the same kind of special and unique qualities. But the Overwatch League community to me is just I'm so awestruck, and by things like this, where it's people and their passions and driving to do cool things like put on podcast shows and make cool art and we just
Yeah, Kree's got her
I don't
Widowmaker
know if
gun
you
back
can
there.
see right here. These are all my 3D printed Overwatch League guns. I have the Widowmaker one right here, and then
that is so
this one
good.
is kind of unpainted, unfinished Ash's Viper. But I was gonna say it also helps that Overwatch has a game or Overwatch is a game full of like fun and like exciting characters, whereas like Call of Duty's kind of like, oh, let's put on our packs and our gears and our vests, and it's like the same look all over again.
Not a
and
whole lot of
not-
Call of Duty cosplay out there, is what I'm
That's
saying.
what so I was trying to get
Or
at
there are a
is
lot of
like
it.
so people don't draw artwork of it as much, and it's like whereas like Overwatch has fun, bubbly characters that
Right.
everyone has a favorite. Everyone's like, oh yeah, no, I love Mercy, or I love Tracer, or I love Soldier 76. Everyone has their favorite character and their favorite look, and it's
Personality.
easier to like portray that in forms of art and stuff like that. So yeah.
Well, the cast of Overwatch is very diverse, and that's one of the beauties of it, right? I mean, it gets talked about here and there, but there's almost someone for everyone,
Mhm.
No matter your background, gender, sexual preference, everybody gets some kind of representation within Overwatch. And I think that's one of the draws to it, right? You can maybe find somebody that reminds you of yourself when you go and play Overwatch. And that's an absolutely fantastic experience in a time where there's so much media out there that doesn't represent diverse groups.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah, it's really a special product to work on and to be able to support. But and I think it comes out in in the people who are fans of it, and think about it in their free time and want to do things like this.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, with like things like Watchpoint Pride that was just recently just got featured. I mean, hats off to all of them. Oak over there, he does great work, and so yeah, Overwatch community is something else.
The Overwatch community is something else because I mean, I obviously travel in several different nerd circles, whether that be comics, movies, all the things that I do for, my pop culture show. And there is a lot of times when a character is like revealed as gay, where it's like there's like a fraction, there's this fractioning of the community where a lot of usually angry white dudes get really angry about that thing that's happened. But I distinctly remember when they were like, hey, by the way, like, did you know the soldier's gay? And like everybody lost their shit in the Overwatch. They're like, oh my God, that's all amazing. Like, yes, that's like the most fantastic thing in the world. And it was so cool to see like my friends say like, that's so cool that like there's Overwatch has that representation for me now, and like really latch on to it. There was fan art everywhere, and there was just people writing stories, and it was like that really warms my heart that just everybody got to just be happy for a minute when something like that's announced.
So funny, just want to kind of add, I want to plug something really quick.
Okay.
We recently had a small Dungeons and Dragons one shot that was
yeah,
Overwatch based, right? It was the events leading up to the Echo Cinematic with Mercury and Ash kind of face off and go fight Evercore, right? So we were essentially like this group of bandits that were on top of this train, and
We're mercenaries.
Mercenaries, right. And so we're trying to escort the payload, and our wonderful dungeon master, she had written into the story that one of the characters we were supposed to bump into was Jack Morrison's love interest. However, because we decided to go completely off script and say, hey, there's I think it was some sort of bio-enhanced lice outbreak that was happening to scare the passengers off the train, we completely missed that opportunity to happen. So yeah, she was like, well, there goes 5 hours of writing, and we're like, we're so sorry.
Welcome to Dungeons and Dragons, my friends. Throw your script out the window. The players are not going to do what you want them to. All right, Eleanor, you once said that if you don't reach for the second still believe in Hit Me Baby One More Time, you cannot be friends with that person. I have to know, what other hot musical takes do you have to share with the world?
I have really too many to count. I can't believe that that's something I'm talking about. So I think I even tweeted something recently about like my take on musical history is that there was before Mariah Carey and after Mariah Carey. It's just like we're in a post Mariah Carey world.
BMC and AMC.
But actually, I think it's actually something my husband tweeted recently, which is that Olivia Rodrigo is one song away from being on the caliber of the Beatles.
Wow, that is definitely a hot take.
It's hotter than most.
But maybe not wrong though.
Correcting me.
I love it.
I mean, you are a giant Taylor Swift fan from what I read.
I do love myself some Taylor Swift. I mean, all the way through the catalog, I'm up and down Taylor Swift fan.
Do you have a favorite song?
Okay. Favorite song. How can I pick?
Which one gets stuck in your head the most?
Oh, What If You Shake It Off? That is like that. Also, song just brings me joy. Honestly, is anything off of Folklore right now, just because I can't stop listening to that album.
I mean, it is a fantastic album, start to finish. So
yeah, American Dynasty. That's just a wonderful song. And like near and dear to my heart, because my husband will not stop playing the National. He plays the National all the time. And this was like the perfect intersection of like things that he likes and things that I like, and it was finally made sense.
There you go.
To be fair, though, I grew up in peak Britney era, right? I helped out an old friend of mine, Anna Fonseca, during my high school talent show, and she like danced to like only Britney songs, and so we were like kind of like the backup dancers in the back. So I'm a huge fan of like the like Britney meme where she's like walking up the stairs and it's like it's Britney bitch and she turns. Like that's one of my hands down one of my favorite memes. Like it's such an iconic moment. I mean, honestly.
It is. It is.
Well,
I think
music's
differently.
so tied into memory, right? Like it's a single song can just bring up so much from years ago, and that's one of the great things about music. No matter what you listen to, whether you are or aren't a Taylor Swift fan, maybe you are super into lo-fi right now, maybe you're a metalhead like me, but all music brings forward memory in such a fantastic way, and that's why I think we should never discount somebody's love of a particular artist, because they have so many memories tied to that artist, and that's just so amazing to think about, that they have entire stories you don't know about tied into say a Taylor Swift album.
Yeah. Yeah. I and I think Taylor Swift has been producing music for long enough that you can really tie one of her albums to like a period of your life.
Yep.
And,
Yeah.
and same thing with Britney. I mean, like we were there for the roller coaster of Britney.
Yeah.
We were absolutely.
Leave her alone.
Pre-breakdown. Yeah, leave Britney alone. Yep.
All right, let's have some fun. It is time to play Would You Rather. Noob, this is your segment, so go ahead and take it away.
Alrighty. Well, this is definitely my favorite segment of the show. In case you've never played this, it's a rather easy game to play. I will be asking the panel a couple of would you rather questions, either with choose option A or go with option B. Now, as our esteemed guest, Eleanor, you get to pick whether you would like to go first, second, third, or last.
I'd like to go second.
Okay.
That's
okay.
First for the show.
First for the show. People typically like to go, or I guess I've gone.
It's all right,
yeah,
though.
first.
It's all
But
right.
I love it. I love
This
it.
is a safe space. Nobody's judging you.
Yes. All right. So we'll start off easy. So would you rather have a pause or a rewind button in your life?
I will go first. I think I would rather have a pause button. Mostly because I get distracted very easily throughout the day, and if I could just like pause the day to go do what I want to do and then come back and like unpause, that'd be just perfect for just my personality in general. I'm gonna say something dumb no matter what. I'm going to trip, I'm gonna drop stuff, I'm gonna break stuff. That's just who I am. I've accepted it. But having that pause button, especially like working from home, has been a nightmare because like my head is just all over the place, and I'm just like, ooh, piece of candy, or oh look, the cat's doing this, the dog's doing that, or oh, I got dirty dishes. So it's just like having like that ability to just pause and then just go do one of those things and then come back to what I was doing would be great.
Okay.
Maybe waiting in line at a amusement park, pause, go run to the bathroom,
Okay.
jump back
That's
in
definitely a
line.
solid plan.
Just stuff like that. Yeah. So I definitely would go for the pause button. And then if it's just like a good moment, you just pause in the moment and just
that is true.
Sit back and relax.
Eleanor, that means you're up.
Oh man, it's a hard one to follow. There's so much context there. I was first thinking rewind, but I feel like I'm really convinced by your pause. Yeah, because I wish I could just like unsay so many things, untweet so many things.
That's what got you to this point.
I still think that I could probably use a rewind button more than a pause. But tough choice. I'm gonna go rewind.
Okay.
Rewind?
It's
Yep. James?
I have to go rewind. I tend to just make awkward situations wherever I go, and I feel like I just need like that couple second rewind to be like, all right, maybe we should undo this. Maybe don't do that. I'd like to believe that I bring sunshine and happiness wherever I go, but sometimes it just verbal mess comes out and just want to take that back.
verbal vomit, and you're just like,
I'm going to go with pause. I mean, yeah, for one, for one specific reason.
Mhm.
I'm confident that if I had a rewind button, the LSV never would have been a thing.
Mm.
Like I know for a fact. I started thinking about when y'all like asked this question. I'm like, okay, I would have gone back and fixed that, which means I probably would have still been here doing this thing. And then oh my no,
It's the butterfly effect, right? Like you go
Mhm.
back so far, and then entire chapters of your life just get rewritten.
Right. So
Mm.
for all I know,
But-
I could have stayed back home. Still could have been playing soccer and teaching U.S. history, and and
Mhm.
video games. Who has time for that? So
Yeah, I would be a literature professor probably at this point. Yeah.
so yeah, I'll go with pause. I'll go with pause.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Alrighty. So that got a little deep. We didn't think it was gonna go that route, but here we are. But okay, how about this one? Would you rather have all traffic lights you approach be green, or never have to stand in line ever again? Cree, you got to go first.
Never stand in line ever again.
I feel like that's hands down the answer. Just
has to
Then
be.
then I could just go to the amusement park
mhm,
and never have to wait in line.
right.
I'm seeing a love for amusement park here.
Well, I mean, we went to Six Flags over the weekend, so it's very fresh
It's just
in
stuck.
my
It's stuck
mind.
in the
Come on.
So I'm pulling
Yeah.
from recent memory. But waiting in line at the concession stand, you don't have to wait. You just go jump in the front. Don't have to. You could arrive at your destination whatever time, and then just hop into the front.
True. Eleanor, what about you?
Yeah, hands down. I also like I'm one of those weird people. Like I actually like when everyone stops at stoplights because like I'm a fan of like order and structure and like just like breezing through everywhere would make me anxious.
Mm,
But the idea of waiting in line, like if I never do it again, I'd make that deal with the devil.
Okay.
I gotta agree. Line hands down. I mean, there's so much time we could make up for in our lives if we wouldn't have to wait in line for anything. Right. Those are new memories we could be making somewhere else where we're not worried about the 15 people that are in front of us.
I mean, that's the same argument you could go with, waiting at green lights or red lights and
That's
stuff.
true.
But I mean, I feel like you hit like 50% of the lights are like.
I listen to a lot of audiobooks when I
Yeah.
drive, so those quiet moments at a stoplight really don't bother me that much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It also gives me a chance to check and see if I got my mom responded to my text messages or whatnot, and I
Safely.
don't feel bad about looking at my phone because I'm sitting stationary.
Mhm.
And then I honk at you, which is why I'm going to go with I would rather have everything have a green light, okay? Because I immediately thought of BlizzCon. When every time I've gone to BlizzCon since obviously 2020, it had been for the last 3 years, and I love standing around in line with my friends to the point where we were like, man, don't you just love LineCon? And we would just stand there for like 30 minutes, 45 minutes to an hour, just talking, catching
How
up.
how dare you, sir?
Sure, our feet
Make
hurt.
lines sound good.
I'm
But-
okay with like LineCon at like conventions, but
Because look, I specifically remember when Lilith got announced, right, for the Diablo 4 trailer, right, and we're standing in this dark corner waiting to get into the Diablo 4 like little I don't know what to call it, but like the little showcase room where they had a bunch of the artwork and stuff like that. And Lilith comes out of nowhere from the back, and like we're just kind of like, oh shit, like everyone jumps. Never would have happened if there was no line. So you know what? Green lights.
no.
Give it
I mean,
give
you
it
would
green
be
lights.
in the line. Line would still exist. You just would be able to skip the line.
Whatever.
But
You
you
got a
can
point.
also choose to stand in the line.
Okay, now it's semantics. Semantics.
You pick the questions. This is on you.
All right, we're moving on. We're moving on. Okay, lastly, would you rather live in a universe that is purely NFL themed, or would you rather be a hero in the world of Overwatch?
Hands down hero from Overwatch.
Yeah, even I want to be in the Overwatch universe. Like being an
You
NFL
practically are.
Right, exactly. Being an
have
NFL
a-
universe sounds scary.
You could have an Omnit Butler who raised you as a kid. Maybe your parents ignored you, but you got Bob.
Yeah, it's one of those questions that maybe if it was like an NHL themed world, I might be down for that. because I do love a good live hockey game, but there's just something tempting about the Overwatch world. I mean, I've said it before on the show. If you could let me be a Reinhardt style crusader, I'm done. Like that's what I would want to be. I want to be a protector, like big old armor. Let me do it.
I'd love to know like the world of the NFL. Like, is it like you're like on turf all the time and like you're wearing pads?
Like basically, like the superheroes of the world is like
I'm-
the NFL. I would
I'm
imagine.
pretty sure there was a cartoon in the 90s basically about this. If I'm remembering, if memory serves and I'm not just thinking things up, I'm pretty sure there was like a cartoon that was like an NFL world or something.
Well,
that
okay, I will say this. Think of remember the Mighty Ducks, the cartoon, not the hockey cartoon, but the one where like they were actual ducks and they were like these superheroes that would fight crime and stuff. If that was the NFL.
Oh, interesting. So it was
Yeah.
like the Vikings of the North.
Yes.
Where
So-
I like animatronic versions.
Like the Fox Sports Channel, like robots, you know.
The
Cletus.
Dallas
Yes,
Cowboys
Cletus, there we
are
go.
actually a bunch of cowboys running around.
Hmm.
What would make the Texans then?
Bunch
I
of
don't know.
just really
Texans?
angry Houston people.
Which you can go there now and find.
Right. Yeah.
Very hot.
Yeah. What would
I mean-
what would you choose, Eleanor, if that was the
I still go Overwatch only because like I feel like the universe of Overwatch is something that is established and like I understand it, I see it. Like there's so much uncertainty in this, and also it's very domestic. Like the idea of the Overwatch universe that like there are parts of it that I have that are unexplored. Heroes we don't know. So
I also need these hovercrafts that they drive.
All right, so really quick bonus question, roundtable, just for the entire panel. Obviously, there's 3 classes in Overwatch, right? You have your tank, DPS, support. You're in the world of Overwatch. Which one are you?
Support.
some support?
tank.
Yeah, I'm tank.
I'm a pretty bad support player. I'll say I do not heal quickly enough. So what I can do is like run over people.
Cool.
All right.
I don't know if I'd necessarily be a healer, but I would like to find a way to like help people.
I mean, in Overwatch,
kind of what I would do.
Overwatch is the game that said, we're going to make you a healer and we're going to give you a sniper rifle. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's part of the healing.
Yeah.
Right?
We're gonna make you a healer, and then you're gonna be able to like run around faster than everyone else.
You're right. You get to play music and heal people,
Oh,
which is like
Lucio is so cool.
the greatest skill ever, right? Like you get to heal people with music. That sounds absolutely amazing.
Just really quick. I have to look, Eleanor. If you talk to the people that do the cinematics, that you may not, giving you an idea right now. Lucio is at a concert. Talon strikes. Right, he drops the beat to save everybody. Throwing that out there. That's he's at
It
a
could happen.
concert.
Write
Saves
it
everybody.
down.
Overwatch 2 is right around the corner, and there is that Lucio stage. It could happen.
True.
So let's get back to the hard-hitting questions. Weekends are really big for sports fans, both in the NFL and the Overwatch League alike. And as different as those fans can be, we do share a lot of similarities, like loving a good meal during game time. So I've got to know, what is your go-to snack menu for the perfect game day?
Chili dog.
Yeah. So a thing that I think like people who know me know is that I am a very anxious sports viewer. So most of the time I am like pacing and drinking water and like cursing at the television more than I am eating. So I would say that like my game time snack is nothing because I can't think about doing 2 things at once. But like my game time snack should be like Pedialyte.
Oh, wow. That's impressive. Way less risque than I thought I was going to be.
I know.
Like,
It's not a chili dog, unfortunately.
I don't know. What about you, panel? What do you think your game time food is?
I like sour things. Sour Patch Kids, just sour candies in general. I'm trying to think. I also like salty things. I don't know. I could eat anything snacking. I would glad.
See, that's what I was going to
see.
say is like when
Yeah.
it comes to game time, I know that there's, everybody out there and they're like, grilling and serving up like big platters of meat. And obviously we're in Texas. So like we just barbecue whatever we can get our hands on. But for me, like when it comes to game day, and it was even like this when we were going together as the Vanguard to watch the Overwatch League, I really just, the concept that I can order like 5 appetizers and just like have hot wings and mozzarella sticks and just lots of little snacky things. And like, that is great for me for game day because I don't have to dedicate myself to this 17-pound hamburger that I just ordered, and then some amazing play happens, and I've got half a cow hanging out of my mouth.
Yes.
If I could have the choice. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say just chips and queso, man. If you can't go wrong with
That
that,
is
like
classic.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. I was like, if I could have queso every time I watch games,
because you don't
I
get
would
full
totally-
from it. You're just there like anxiously just eating away at it. Next thing you know, it's like you're out of it, but you're like, yeah, you're not full.
Is
When-
that your Overwatch hero's secret support ability, Noob? Is that he can actually just have a consistent like bowl of queso that never ends that everybody can partake with?
There's one right here.
Would you rather have an unlimited bowl of queso or have unlimited battery?
Okay,
on
we're
your
past
phone?
those questions, Cree. But
I don't
would
know.
go-
I'm here for that question.
I would go with unlimited bowl.
I'm on Team Queso, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm always on Team Queso. You cannot ever stop me from like not getting queso. It's a habit. It's a problem. I get it. I'm seeing a group for it. We're all just that's
Queso's Anonymous.
yeah. It is Queso Anonymous.
Q&A.
Oh no.
It is the cheesiest group I've ever been a part of.
Here we go. Well, we folks.
That's all,
Oh,
folks.
Lord.
Thanks for coming. No, just kidding.
All right, so we're about at the end here. We got a couple more questions, but I do need to know, like, being a brand manager has got to be like a wonderfully complex job from everything that we've heard from you. Just for the folks at home, though, I want to know, like, what advice can you give to anybody out there who would like to get into the world of brand management?
Yeah. So it is a complex job, but it is a very fun job, I will say. You do like it is the part of marketing that is where you get to go to cool events and you get to work on cool activations and make cool content and do things like this and it is really rewarding, but it is no one who I think is successful in marketing writ large hasn't gotten there without tremendous tenacity and skill. I think the one thing my team is they would repeat back to you is the thing I say the most, which is sweat the small stuff. Details matter, action matters, and pay attention to the things that are going on around you. Take notes, be obsessive about what it is that you do, or otherwise you don't get the benefits of the cool stuff if you're not really paying attention, not putting in the time. And it's something that I think I learned in my career, that there aren't shortcuts. There's no magic bullet. There's no one person who's just going to open the door for you. So really being present, being engaged, and being persistent are the things that I think help people in my profession be successful, and something that I strive to do every day, and something that I think we don't always get right, but it is important to try and to keep at it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like as a brand manager, you talk about really kind of investing 110% and being engaged with all of it. I would imagine that because of what you do, if you don't have that level of engagement with the brand that you're a part of, whether that be the NFL, whether that be the NHL, whether it be the Overwatch League, the Call of Duty League, you're not going to be successful just because you are on a certain level trying to speak to the people that are following your brand. And if you can't speak their language, if you can't walk with them on their journey of the Overwatch League, say for instance, they won't have faith in your product at the end of the day.
Exactly. And if you're not invested, why should they be?
Mhm.
So it's very, very well put. You really have to put yourself in the position of the people that you're trying to reach. And to say that, like, we talk about being obsessive
Mhm.
about our audience and about our consumer, about our fans, and there's nothing more important than part of it is empathy, but also part of it is just understanding, and being a part of the culture that way.
Yeah, from a smaller, much smaller brand, by the way, and us in the LSV, James, you and I have had a lot of conversations since, I mean, for the last 4 years, and Cree, now that you're kind of coming in more into like more of a leadership role, um, for me, it's always been, I, how can we continue to help grow, what we've kind of started, right? And for me, as being a co-founder, it's people suggest, we were like, we should probably try this, and I'm like, I've always been the more like, well, we have to protect what we have, and kind of that walking kind of, we have to make sure that we can walk before we can run. And so I've always struggled with that of, I know we need to do this, but we got to do it right.
Mhm.
And at times, and I'm guilty of it, of where we think we just got to go ahead and go out and do this. And my always response has been, if we do it and we fail, are we hurting ourselves?
Yeah.
So, my hat's off to you, especially in the role that you do, where where you say, so you have to get it done. Um,
It can be
it
complicated.
is nerve
I,
wracking.
I remember, and we have some fantastic pictures of this. Um, the first brand meeting we had for the LSV, we all met at a local pizzeria, and we
Yeah.
got pizza and beers, and we sat down, and he said, this is before we had a name. And we sat down and said, look, we can do something with this. And we worked out the name, and we said, okay, what do we want to do for the logo? And we tapped one of the local artists at some point to, generate. We had a competition actually for the logo for what we have. And we just sat down, and it was this wonderful afternoon. I remember it was just beautiful out in Austin. And we just sat around, like 6 or 7 of us, and just talked about the brand itself. And it's so fulfilling when you see the fruit of it, because yes, a brand is equal for advertising and selling a product and all of these things, but that doesn't mean that there isn't heart that's not put into the people who make the logos, who design the artwork, who take the time to make something really awesome, and we see it in the entire Overwatch League, you see it in Call of Duty League, people that genuinely care about, the product, in air quotes, that they're working on, because their passion lies with the game, it lies with the thing that they do.
Yes. Uh, um, all true. And how fun is it to engage in those explorative activities, those, like, the discovery session about your name
Yeah.
and your logo, and like, what are you going to be? That's, I think, those are like the fun parts.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, the
absolutely.
name is what led to, okay, this is what we want for a logo. Now we need to find artists, and like the coming up with the Lone Star Vanguard informed everything else going forward, right? It's a process, and it's a very, like, just emotionally fulfilling one when you get it right, when you feel good about this. When we could unveil our logo and unveil our brand, and it was like, wow, this feels like a professional thing. Like, we're just a bunch of people from diverse people from all over the world that came together to make a thing, and now our thing is 3 cities wide, right? 3 of the largest cities in Texas now wear our brand, and it's like absolutely crazy to think about. And honestly, we're just getting started.
Yep.
Yeah, that's so cool. I mean, hats off to you guys. Just I mean, it really shouldn't be understated on this podcast, and it certainly isn't something that I think we take for granted. Seeing you and celebrating, LSV, the amount of care and attention that you put into this, building this community, is amazing.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely appreciate that.
It's a good place to call home.
Noob's getting all teared up over there. I
No,
love
no.
it. All right, we have one final question, and this will be a divisive one, and do not cater to us. I want you to be honest here. We want honesty on this show. From a brand perspective, what are some of the team brands that you absolutely love in the Overwatch League?
Well, I mean, it's a trip me up question. I have to give the same answer that I would give if I'm working at the NFL, if I'm working for anywhere. I love all 20. I do. And I'll say that the people that I work with on the team side who are building those brands, who are building that recognition in their cities and growing themselves and defining who they are, and taking that time. And all 20 teams do that. And all 12 teams on the CDL side do that as well. And I am like, not just using flowery language, but like I'm privileged to say that I work with those people because they're extremely talented and gifted and devoted to what it is that they do. So like choosing one is like I truly can't, because they all put in so much work and are doing an incredible job, building this esports league with us.
I will say they've brand management, the brand itself of Overwatch League has always been good, as we said at the start of the show, to where we are now. Obviously, the move to make it city-based was very important. I was originally from Houston, but that's what drew me to the Outlaws originally. So that familiarity with an area was perfect for me. Also, nobody likes Dallas, so I mean that was a thing. But you're right. But in the last year, it's been so amazing to see. I know we talked about this earlier, the connection to the audience of the Overwatch League, the fan base. It seems like the teams really are embracing the fans in just such an amazing way, where they tweet their fans' artwork. They promote their local chapters of fans like the LSV. It's really cool that on a certain level, they have a relationship with the fans that you just don't see in something like the NFL. And that's one of the reasons that we keep coming back year after year to the Overwatch League, because we get to be a part of the process. And that's really cool.
Yep.
Yeah. And the Overwatch League does it so authentically. I think that's, I'm sure, certain NFL teams wish that they could have, and actually, I'll say, teams like the Green Bay Packers, like that's a homegrown team. That is a team that really owns their fans' support, and that's really critical to who it is that they are. So some teams can come by it honestly, but the Overwatch League as a whole is, and if I'm just to plug my tagline, we have. It really is like our best is us. We are only the best because of the community and the richness and diversity and the passion of the us, of the collective. So I truly believe that, and I think it rings really true in Overwatch, the game, and certainly in the league as well.
Excellent. Well, that's everything that we have for the show this week. Eleanor, thank you so much for coming on to the show with us. You have been an absolute gem. This has been so insightful and fascinating, and I'm just happy that you managed to carve out time for us, because you are a very busy person.
No, thank you. This was awesome. It was a pleasure being on this, and I can't wait to see more out of Lone Star Vanguard, and more things that more and greater things coming from you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
So it's plug time. I do have to say, Eleanor, is there anywhere that people can follow you and get your hot takes about chili dogs online?
I don't know. I weirdly, like, I don't have a brand. I spend a lot of time on my work. I guess you can follow me on Twitter. Yeah, like it's not a lot there other than like just me retweeting my social media manager. So
It sounds like your husband has an amazing Twitter account. By
he
the way.
does. He does. You can follow that GL Fortier. He's 10 times funnier than I am, so a much richer follow.
All right, Cree, you want to go ahead and plug your socials for us?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Cree _Rex on both Twitter and Instagram. I think I just said that. I haven't posted much lately,
We're peer
but
pressuring you in there.
when I do, it's usually some sort of like cosplay content and stuff like that.
All right, Mr. Noob, plug the LSV for us, sir.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say I'm kind of the same way. I honestly, all of my heart and soul goes into the LSV. So on my Twitter account at Nubatron Prime, it's all LSV retweets, me replying to the LSV or replying to the Outlaws, or it's an off-topic anime reply or hot take of music or something like that. But yep, just really quick, just want to talk a little bit about some of the upcoming stuff that we have on the LSV and on this podcast. We have some, obviously we're kicking it off with a huge guest in Eleanor joining us. And we have some other fun special guests coming up that may or may not be part of the Outlaws.
Ooh.
They may have given us access to the Outlaws.
May or may not have given us access. Yes. So stay tuned for that. And also don't forget to buy your tickets to the in-person event with the Outlaws on July 9th.
Yes, 9th.
So keep your eyes on the Outlaw socials for that. Tickets go on sale. Well, this recording will have already happened, so ignore me.
And if you want to send us your love for the Outlaws to read on air, hit me up on Twitter at GNGGcast. And check out my main show, Good Night and Good Game, a weekly nerd news roundup that's available on any podcast provider and Spotify. And until next time, heroes, good night and good game.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.